The most dangerous person in your life isn't the one who screams at you. It's the one who smiles while slowly teaching you to doubt your own mind. You walk away from them confused, exhausted, and somehow apologizing for things you didn't do. And you can't explain it to anyone because on paper, nothing happened. If you've ever felt like you're losing your mind around someone who looks completely normal to everyone else, tap that subscribe button and let me explain what's really going on. Let me describe a scene you might recognize. You're sitting across from someone you've known for years. They say something that stings. You feel it land. But before you can even respond, they're already laughing. They tell you they were just joking. They tell you that you're too sensitive. They tell you that you always do this. They turn the moment so fast that you start questioning whether the sting was even real. And just like that, you swallow your reaction and force a smile. That little moment doesn't seem like much, but it happens again, and again, and again. Different words, different jokes, same pattern. You start editing yourself before you speak. You start checking your tone before you ask a question. You start wondering if you're really as difficult as they say you are. You stop trusting your first reaction. You stop trusting your gut. You stop trusting yourself. And the scariest part is, you didn't even notice it happening. Carl Jung said that what we don't make conscious comes out as fate. Here's the simple version. The things you refuse to face will run your life from the shadows. And the people who drain you the most are usually people who refuse to face themselves. They've buried their pain so deep that the only way they can survive is to put it on someone else. That someone is often you. You become the screen they project their unfinished business onto. You become the mirror they use to feel better about themselves. You become the recycling bin for emotions they refuse to claim. Think about how you feel right before you have to see this person. Your stomach tightens, your breathing gets shallow. You start rehearsing scripts in your head. You plan what to wear so they won't comment. You plan what to say so they won't pick a fight. You plan an exit. You plan an excuse. You plan your survival like you're going into a war zone instead of a family dinner. That isn't normal social anxiety. That is your body remembering every single time being around them cost you something you couldn't afford to lose. Has this ever happened to you? Drop a yes in the comments and subscribe to join thousands of people who are finally waking up to what was happening this entire time. Here's something nobody warned you about. Some people don't drain you with big, dramatic events. They drain you with thousands of tiny paper cuts that never bleed enough for anyone to notice. A look, a sigh, a comment about your weight disguised as concern, a compliment that ends with a sharp little hook, a question that isn't really a question but a trap, a favor that comes with a price tag you only see months later. You can't point to any single moment and say that was abuse, that was cruelty, that was the thing that hurt me, because none of the moments are big enough on their own. But together, they're slowly carving you into a smaller, quieter, more obedient version of yourself. And the most heartbreaking part is that you start to believe the smaller version is who you really are. You forget the loud, curious, wild person you used to be. You forget the dreams you had before you started shrinking. You forget the sound of your own laugh, the real one, the one that came from your belly before you learned to perform. This is what slow draining actually looks like. Not a single wound, 1,000 small ones that never get to heal because the same hand keeps reopening them. And you keep going back because you've been taught that love is supposed to hurt a little, that family is supposed to be hard, that friendship is supposed to be uneven. But none of that is true. Real love doesn't make you smaller. Real love doesn't require you to disappear. Real love doesn't punish you for taking up space. If something is calling itself love and slowly erasing you, it isn't love. It's something else wearing love's clothes. Are you tired of being the one who always understands, always forgives, Always makes excuses for people who never extend the same to you? Subscribe and hit the bell if you want more truths that finally give you permission to stop. Now let's get into the why. Why do certain people leave you feeling like you've been hit by a truck? It comes down to something called emotional labor, and once you understand it, you can't unsee it. Emotional labor is the invisible work of managing other people's feelings. It's reading the room.
It's softening your truth. It's pretending to be fine when you're not. It's laughing at the joke that hurt you so the moment doesn't get awkward. With healthy people, emotional labor is shared. You manage a little, they manage a little. Nobody is the designated mood handler. But with draining people, the labor is all yours. You're the thermostat. You're the translator. You're the cleanup crew for every emotion they refuse to feel. You walk into a room and immediately scan their face. Are they in a good mood today? A bad mood? Did something happen? Should you bring up that thing or wait? Should you ask about their day or let them lead? You're doing all of this before they even say hello. You're working a full-time job that nobody hired you for and nobody pays you for. No wonder you're exhausted. You're not just having a conversation. You're running emotional air traffic control for somebody who refuses to learn how to land their own planes. And the worst part is, they don't see it. They genuinely believe they're easy to be around. They genuinely believe you're the difficult one. Because you've made their chaos look so smooth for so long that they think the smoothness is just how the world naturally is around them. Take that work away and watch what happens. Stop managing their mood. Stop softening your words. Stop laughing at jokes that aren't funny. And suddenly the air gets thick. The room gets cold. They start asking what's wrong with you. They start telling other people you've changed. You haven't changed. You just stopped doing two people's emotional work for the price of 0. Does this sound like someone you know? Share this video with them and subscribe for more truths that name what nobody else has the courage to name out loud. Jung talked about something called projection. Here's what it means in plain language. People can't stand the parts of themselves they refuse to look at. So they look at you and pretend they're seeing those parts in you. The person who calls you selfish is often the most selfish person in the room. The person who accuses you of being too emotional is usually drowning in unprocessed feelings they refuse to name. The person who says you're controlling is often trying to control how you see them. The mirror is always pointing the other way. This is why their criticism feels so confusing. It doesn't match who you actually are. It doesn't fit your life. It doesn't line up with the way other people experience you. That's because it was never about you in the first place. It was about them trying to put down something they can't bear to pick up. But here's the trick. When you don't know about projection, you absorb it. You start to wonder if you really are selfish. You start to wonder if you really are too much. You start auditing your own personality to see if their accusations are true. You become a detective in a case where you're the wrongly accused suspect. This is exhausting on a level most people can't even describe. It's not just hearing criticism. It's hearing criticism and then having to do internal forensic work to figure out if it's true. Imagine doing that all day. Imagine doing that for years. Of course you're tired. You've been on trial inside your own head this entire time. The freedom comes when you finally understand that not every accusation deserves an investigation. Some accusations are just somebody's shadow speaking, and you don't have to pick up what isn't yours. You don't have to carry confessions disguised as criticism. You can hand it back, quietly, without a fight, just by refusing to believe it. Have you been pretending everything is fine when it's not? Subscribe and drop your experience below because the moment you name it is the moment it starts losing its grip on you. Now I want to talk about a specific kind of person. The one who is never directly mean to you. The one who makes you feel terrible without ever doing anything you could actually point at. They forget the things that matter to you,
They remember the things that hurt you. They show up late when you need them and arrive early when they need something. They are warm to strangers and distant to you. They celebrate your competitors and stay silent when you win. You can't confront them on any of it because nothing is technically wrong. They didn't yell. They didn't insult you. They didn't break a promise out loud. They just keep showing you in 1,000 quiet ways that you are not a priority. And then they act surprised when you start pulling away. This is the slowest, most confusing kind of drain. Because you spend so much energy trying to convince yourself it's all in your head. You make excuses for them. You give them the benefit of the doubt. You blame your own insecurity. You blame your own past. You blame your own attachment style. You'll blame anyone in the room before you blame the person who is actually hurting you. That's what loyalty looks like when it's been twisted into self-abandonment. That's what love looks like when somebody taught you that being loved means being last. But there's a moment that comes for everyone. A quiet, ordinary moment when something finally clicks. Maybe it's a small comment. Maybe it's the third unanswered text. Maybe it's watching them light up for someone else the way they never light up for you. And in that moment, you stop arguing with reality. You finally let yourself see what you've been seeing all along. Do you recognize this pattern in your life? Subscribe now and tell me your story below, because the second you say it out loud, even just to strangers on the internet, it loses some of its power over you. Let's talk about your body for a minute. Because your body has been keeping a record this whole time, even when your mind was making excuses. Have you noticed how you get headaches around certain people? How your stomach hurts before certain visits? How you get sick the week after spending time with a specific family member? That isn't a coincidence. That is your nervous system processing what your conscious mind refuses to process. Your body is honest in a way your mind can't afford to be. Your mind has to keep the peace. Your mind has to keep you in relationships you depend on. Your mind has to keep the story together. But your body has no agenda. Your body just tells the truth. In symptoms, in tension, in fatigue, in the strange way you can't fall asleep after seeing them. When you start paying attention to your body around people, you become almost unable to be fooled. Words can lie. Faces can lie. Even your thoughts can lie because they were shaped by people who needed you confused. But your body keeps score with terrifying accuracy. So here's a small practice. Before you say yes to anything, pay attention to your shoulders. Pay attention to your chest. Pay attention to that first split-second feeling before your mind jumps in to explain it away. That first feeling is data. That first feeling is wisdom. That first feeling is the most loyal friend you have, and you've been ignoring it for years. The people who drain you the most are the people whose names make your shoulders climb to your ears the second you see a notification from them. That isn't dramatic. That isn't paranoid. That is years of evidence stored in your muscles, in your breath, in the quiet language of your own animal body. Is this why you've been feeling exhausted lately? Subscribe and let me know in the comments, because this is the kind of conversation that changes lives once people are finally ready to hear it. Now let's talk about the way out, because I never want to leave you sitting in pain without showing you the door. The first step is the smallest one and the hardest one. You stop arguing with yourself about how you feel. You feel drained around them, period. You don't need a reason. You don't need a story. You don't need their actions to be bad enough to justify your exhaustion. Your exhaustion is the justification. The second step is to stop explaining yourself to people who benefit from your confusion. The more you explain, the more material you give them to twist. Short answers, quiet boundaries, less access. You don't owe anyone a lecture before you protect your peace. The third step is the one nobody likes to hear. You have to be okay with being misunderstood. You have to be okay with being the villain in someone's story.
You have to be okay with people saying you've changed, you've gotten cold, you've gotten distant, you've gotten weird. That's the price of admission for getting yourself back. And it's a price worth paying. Because here's what waits on the other side.
Quiet mornings that don't start with dread. Phones that don't make your chest tight when they ring. Friendships where you don't have to perform. Family time that doesn't require 3 days of recovery afterward. A version of you that laughs without checking, cries without apologizing, speaks without rehearsing, exists without explaining. That version of you isn't a fantasy. That version of you has been waiting underneath all the layers of management and performance and self-editing this entire time. You don't have to become someone new. You just have to stop being everyone else's emotional employee. You just have to stop letting people hire you for jobs you never applied for. You just have to remember that your energy is not a public resource. It is a private inheritance, and you are the only one who gets to decide who receives it. Did that hit home for you?
Let me know in the comments and subscribe so you don't miss the next video where I show you the exact phrases to use when these people try to pull you back in. Here's what I want you to carry with you when this video ends. Your exhaustion is not a flaw in your design. It is a feature. It is a warning system. It is your soul telling you that something around you is not safe, even if your eyes can't see what's wrong. You were not built to bleed quietly for people who never asked if you were bleeding. You were not built to perform peace while war is happening inside your chest. You were not built to be everyone's quiet, agreeable, useful little helper while your own life waits in the corner with the lights off. You were built to be powerful. You were built to be present. You were built to be honest, even when honesty makes other people uncomfortable. You were built to take up space in the room and breathe like you have every right to be there. Because you do. You always did.
The people who drain you the most are usually the ones who can sense, on some deep level, just how powerful you actually are. They drain you because if you ever woke up to your full self, you'd realize you don't need them at all. Their grip on you only works while you're sleeping. The second you wake up, you become untouchable. Not unloving, untouchable. There's a difference, and you'll feel it the moment you cross that line. You don't have to become hard. You don't have to become cold. You don't have to become a different person to protect yourself. You just have to become sovereign. You just have to put a small, invisible crown back on a head that was never meant to bow this low. You just have to start treating your own peace like it matters as much as everyone else's comfort. In the moment you do, something changes. The room around you changes. The people around you change. Some of them leave. Some of them get louder. Some of them try harder. But none of them control you anymore. Because you finally remember the most dangerous, most beautiful truth of your entire life. You are the one who gets to decide who has access to you. And from this day forward, the answer is no longer everyone. If this video made you feel something, share it with someone who needs it. Subscribe for more videos that actually understand you.